So we have a climate story that I want to get into here. This is in Common Dreams, as often is one of the only outlets covering the climate. Obviously, The Lever covers this quite a bit as well, but there are seldom, mainstream articles about the climate catastrophe, as we were just talking about with Birion. This is by Brett Wilkins. Activists decry Biden's reckless resumption of fossil fuel leases on public lands. Quote, this is an ugly betrayal of Joe Biden's campaign promises and his administration's rhetoric on environmental justice and climate actions. This is another area where Biden has reneged on innumerable promises that he made on the campaign trail. And we're going to get into that in a bit, too, on this particular topic. Activists condemned Friday's announcement by the Biden administration that the U.S. Bureau of Land Management will resume oil and gas lease sales on public lands as yet another betrayal of President Joe Biden's promises to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and tackle the climate emergency. The U.S. Interior Department explained Friday afternoon that the lease sale resumption is in compliance with a 2021 federal injunction blocking the Biden administration from enforcing a temporary pause on new leases for oil and gas drilling on public lands and waters. The department described the onshore oil and gas lease sales as significantly reformed while announcing a first ever increase in the royalty rate for new competitive leases to 18.75%, up from the 12.5% minimum rate required by law. While the progressive watchdog Accountable.us applauded the administration's decision to raise the royalty rate, most climate campaigners decried the resumption of the fossil fuel lease sales amid a worsening planetary emergency. So this, you guys, just to pause for a second, this is what the Democrats do. They maintain the core of the problem, but they make some virtually meaningless, perfunctory, innocuous reform to it, like adding a few percent to the royalty rate, and they act as though they're like fucking FDR. They could have just ended the damn program and not gone forward with these leases at all. But they want credit for taking what is not even really a middle ground. It's a very conservative compromise. They want credit as though they're fucking progressive, as though they're like environmentally friendly for this. It's beyond outrageous. It's just utterly beyond outrageous. Oh, hang on just a second. There we go. Quote, it is never a good sign when the president announces something at 5 p.m. on a Friday, but President Biden can't get away with this disastrous climate decision, said Varshini Prakash, executive director of the youth-led Sunrise Movement. Fact of the matter is that more drilling won't solve high gas prices right now, so why is Biden breaking his campaign promise to stop drilling on public lands? And we also have, oh, man, I am not handling StreamYard very well today, am I, guys? We have a tweet here that points out this hypocrisy I wanted to show you all. This is Ken Klippenstein. He's an excellent follow on Twitter, at Ken Klippenstein. If you're not following him, he is just one of the absolute best. He retweets an NBC News tweet saying Biden administration says it will resume sale of leases to drill for oil and gas on federal land starting next week, causing an upset among environmentalists, the story we were just reading about. And he retweets it with a quote from Joe Biden in the New York Times, quote, and by the way, no more drilling on federal lands, period, 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 Mr. Biden told voters in New Hampshire in February of 2020. So it's not just a reneged promise, you guys. He said, period, 4 times to emphasize how literally he meant no more drilling on federal lands. He's now violated that a number of times. We covered just a month or two ago how he was trying to lease a whole bunch of a whole bunch of land in the Gulf of Mexico to drilling companies and big oil companies, who, by the way, already have more land than they're using. So this is an area where he has not just gone back on explicit promises that he drove home and campaigned on. It's one where he has totally reversed track and gone in the complete other direction, where he has pushed policies that will further harm the planet. It's not even just stagnant policies. He's not even just maintaining the problem. He's adding to it. Great job pointing out that hypocrisy by Ken Klippenstein, and great coverage in Common Dreams. But this is, you guys, like, I don't know how to emphasize this any more than I already have. The climate catastrophe is as important a story as the human race has ever encountered. It's as big a problem, as existential a problem as the human race has ever encountered. And we are treating it like it is almost nothing. We're treating it like it's renaming a local post office or some fucking shit. You can't find an article on this stuff if you try. Certainly not in the mainstream press, you can't. And when you do, it's all framed in this ridiculous, like as though it's climate action or jobs. They frame it as though like you're going to take an economic hit if you take action on the climate crisis. It is the mishandling on the press's behalf of the climate catastrophe is tantamount to their pushing us into the war in Iraq. It's tantamount to how they've covered Ukraine. It is journalistic malpractice, egregious, extraordinary journalistic malpractice. And obviously, as you guys can tell, the story gets me a little bit worked up. One of these climate stories is going to have me gesticulating so strong that I pull a fucking muscle up here one of these Sundays. Have to go on the injured list. But I cannot possibly implore my audience strongly enough to take this seriously. This is the biggest problem that our species and our planet currently face. I cannot possibly implore you strongly enough to take it seriously. So, great coverage again from Common Dreams. The lever, David Sirota, always on top of this. If you haven't seen Don't Look Up, go watch Don't Look Up. It is an absolutely perfect metaphor for this story. And anywhere that you can get involved, pushing for climate action, I just encourage you all to do so. I cannot possibly overstate how important this is. It would be impossible for me to.